Good morning and welcome to the first of a three-part series on successful aging in place. My name is Shauna Levine and I am the project coordinator at the Wayland Council on Aging, and most of you already know me. This program is made possible through a community challenge grant through AARP. The AARP Community Challenge is a grant program to make tangible improvements in communities that jumpstart long-term change. It is part of AARP's nationwide Livable Communities Initiative, which supports the effort of cities, towns, and neighborhoods and rural areas to become great places for people to live for all ages. Through this grant, we were able to purchase 100 sets of motion detector nightlights to give to all the participants in the program. We will be distributing to you at the end of today's program, so make sure you get one, and there's one per household. So yes, it's very exciting. In addition, we will have more materials available at our other two sessions, so make sure you join us. I would also like to thank Waycam, our local cable channel, for recording this program. This will enable us to reach those who are unable to attend today. Today, we will be focused on home technology for seniors. Our featured speaker is Richard Duncan. He's the executive director of the R.L. Mace Universal Design Institute, which believes that all environments and products should be usable by everyone, regardless of age. Joining Richard will be Jen Wen, the project coordinator. Also joining us today is David Zilber, founder of Dave Tech, and Sue Donahue from Lavindi, and they will be joining at the end of the program. Before I introduce Richard, just a few notes. Please, once again, silence or turn off your cell phones. Richard will do his presentation, and we will take questions after his presentation, not during. If you have any questions, you think of questions while he's speaking, everybody should have an index card and a pen, so just write down your questions, and we will get to them after his presentation. Okay, now to introduce our featured speaker. Richard Duncan is the executive director of the R.L. Mace Universal Design Institute. And just to let you know, Richard is joining us virtually from Asheville, North Carolina. He has spent over 35 years in the field of architectural and product accessibility and universal design in residential, public, and transportation environments. He has extensive experience in the design, cost, materials, and products in residential and non-residential settings. He has conducted and managed numerous accessibility assessment and compliance projects over 4 decades in public, commercial, and outdoor environments. Accessibility and universal design work has taken him around the country and worldwide. Please welcome Richard Duncan.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Shauna. It's great to be with you today. As she said, we'll be doing this particular session on home technology, and it'll be something of an introduction to the kind of broad issues of home technology and how it can help and what its functions are. Well, I do a lot of presentations on things related to housing, age-friendly housing, universal design, and so on. There's no presentation that I give where I can be more assured that the information I'm giving you will be obsolete by the time I'm done. Technology, as you know, is rapidly changing, and I'm sure some of the things I've said have been superseded already. So we'll have to keep that in mind. So I'll throw a lot of things at you. I'm happy that you have 2 actual experts there in the room with you, and so at the end, they can probably gently correct some of my misinformation and certainly provide you all with maybe some detailed information about what they can do and how they might be able to help you. So I'm happy that they're there. And as Shauna said, yes, I'm speaking from storm-ravaged Asheville, which is, well, we're able to hook up with you today. It still is a long way from being back to way it used to be a couple weeks ago. The image you see behind me, I wish was my office window. It does, in fact, look somewhat like that today. We've had beautiful weather since this hurricane, and if you were to get out and could even get up that high, which is not likely these days, this is the view that you'd see. So it's quite beautiful. We invite you all to come down in future years. So I'll be talking about a lot of home technology, and I'm going to have to click this. And I'm compelled to tell you that we'll be mentioning lots and lots of products and brands, and that AARP is very careful to insist that we not associate them with anything that might be considered an endorsement of any of these things. We're funded, and Stone is funded from the nonprofit side of AARP, and they try to have a very bright white line between their operations and their other side, which is the magazine and so on. So AARP has nothing to do with these selections. They're purely ours going forward. So we'll talk about how home tech can help. And I'm sure it may already be helping a lot of you in your homes now, but we'll share what we know about this. All the different function areas in the home where home technology has taken root and in some cases flourishing. And then we'll talk about resources, local to you and then national as well. So the goals for whether you call it home technology or smart homes, there's different names that are applied to it, include the following: is that it can help and enhance contact and social connections. Again, you may already be experiencing this. It is something that can help and enhance your safety, and safety is freedom from injury. It also has a role in security. Security is freedom from criminal activity. We make that distinction importantly. Certainly, it can enhance the control of the manipulation of your home systems, and we'll go through all those various ways. I think the health and healthcare area is particularly interesting. COVID gave a boost to non-institutional based healthcare, home-based healthcare, and technology has played a role then, and I think in the future will continue to play a role going forward. And in fact, we think that in some ways, for some of us, technology may be something that helps us stay at home longer, more safely. I'm just adjusting my watch here so I can make sure I keep time properly. And it may be a difference maker in helping us remain in the places that we all say we want to stay, and can help stay in them safely and independently. So we think that there's a role there going forward. So this is a neat little graphic that shows all the various areas of the home where there might be some application of home technology. Again, you may find some of these in your own home as well, whether it's exterior doors we'll talk about, security systems, heating and ventilating, energy management, lighting, even garage door openers. I'm compelled, though, to start differently than I might otherwise, given the catastrophe that we've had down here. A lot of us are reevaluating our life choices in light of what's happened. And one of the many ones is people saying to each other, gee, shouldn't we have gotten a home generator a month or two ago? Many people didn't. They're now wishing that they had. There's tens of thousands of folks in the area here that are still without power. I know you have your share of natural disasters up there. And given how increasingly electronically oriented all of our homes and our lives are, I think a lot of us are making the choice to add one, or if there's a new construction operation happening, of including that in new construction. So you can go for many thousands of dollars in these whole house home generating systems, which some folks can opt for, or a whole variety of smaller scale generators that have various power outputs that can run various components of your home. So kind of medium sized, a very small scale one here. And then things we've actually seen around here these days are these kind of super battery systems that are really best designed for running very small things or charging devices. And a lot of folks we've seen having these around here. So if you haven't considered this, I think that these kinds of things will be part of our lives going forward. And certainly until we get to a fully disaggregated power generation network in the country with highly disaster resistant infrastructure, again, very difficult to do, these may play a role for you going forward. So think about that. I know that a lot of you already have internet in your homes, and I'm not going to dwell on some aspects too much. A lot of us get our connection via black cable. I do in my house. It comes in from my provider, and then it's distributed throughout the home, and I'll explain that in a minute. Some of you may be using kind of higher end dish technology to get your internet connection. It is possible to do. I'm pleased that in many places there may be more than one choice. I like competition between and amongst. We know people even down here who've had this. Some of it I think is satellite-based, others of it is based on cell signals, and so some folks who had this dish actually had their internet go down as their cell service went down in the storm. Keep that in mind. Others can get it specifically via their cell service provider and via cell towers piped into their home with the new 5G technology. That might be an option where you are. And then finally, and famously, the Starlink system, which is, I think, the only at least satellite-based, exclusively satellite-based system with global aspirations. A lot of people around here are thinking about this for the days that we had our cell service out of service. How and something that could be. So you get your signal a bunch of different ways, and I hope that you have multiple choices where you are, so you can choose among the ones that might best serve you. Once you get in your house, you have to have Wi-Fi. Generally, Wi-Fi is the thing that powers a lot of the other functionality that we're talking about. So you'll have a modem and a router and so on. Again, you may already have this, but you'd have to acquire this and either do a DIY basis or have some service provider install it for you. Then you need devices, of course, that can use the wireless. So you need your TV set, obviously, can be run off of wireless, potentially your smartphone, your tablet, your watch, and then, of course, these things. Who saw this coming? I certainly did 20 years ago, that we'd have this revolution of voice control devices throughout our homes. We'll talk more about these things and different ways you can use them going forward. So you need the connection, you need the Wi-Fi, you need some device that'll control things and others, and you need your voice, which is for a lot of us possible, for some of us not so possible. So you have these other options. I like having multiple options of how to do this. The major brands involved in this, big players, Apple Home and their HomeKit brands, Amazon Echo, very popular, Google Nest, Facebook has hardware, ADT, which is an old mainline security company, is now branched into beyond just security into other things in homes. The Ring product, which people may know about, and there's all kinds of custom installations. You can get highly customized installations that'll do all kinds of interesting things that are beyond most of our ability to manage. So that's all out there. So in the communication sector, I talked about voice. You can have email, you can have text, and then social media. All those things are things which are enhanced by having, this connectivity to the outside world, the home technology that's available these days, and video as well. So that's one of the enhancements in these recent times. This is one of the big three original kind of home technology wireless controlled devices, right? You remember when the wireless phone came out, the handheld phone, and what a revolution that was. That along with the remote controlled TV and the remote controlled garage door opener, really early days for this. And it's interesting to note that stuff goes back a ways. Obviously, phone back at Alexander Graham Bell, but the wireless portion probably 30 years ago, maybe 40 years ago. And then these things. So we have 5 of these guys in my house that we use. Not nearly as much as we might, but there's a whole variety of other voice control devices out there. They have a lot of potential functionality, and we try to focus on that as much as we can because these are inexpensive off-the-shelf items as opposed to some of the technologies you'll hear about. If you don't have them, because the barrier to entry, as we say, is so low, you might try them out and see if they'll do some fun things or some useful things with you. We'll talk about how that might work. And of course, there's the video component. We're lucky enough to have our grandkids living in town with us, but we still FaceTime with them and use video component fairly frequently to check in and to share the important events of their lives if we're not running around. And that's a great thing to be able to do. Obviously, totally wireless. So in the communications area, you've got all those factors and functions. In safety, you've got lighting and then smoke and fire and CO detecting, which is there. We're not going to talk very much about lighting in this presentation. You've got one coming next week. I believe it's next week, and so we're going to defer some of that to that. But certainly in the safety area, we have these smart devices now, as well as falls and wandering alerts. So we'll talk about those in more detail. So you can get these smart smoke and CO detectors now that are controllable by your phone and have all kinds of added functionality. It's not just on or off, beeping or not beeping. They can check. You can check, do a safety test on it. You can turn them off if they're on. And there's a whole bunch of other features that you can access via the smart technology that's available there, not just the simple functions that we had before. And they're more expensive, of course, but they provide some interesting opportunities for enhanced functionality, and I advise you to consider that. Also in this area, this gets into us in our later years, and maybe even when we have times when our cognitive functioning may be declining, we can use various of the technologies available in homes to monitor our activity, to monitor our location, to make sure we're staying safe. And this may be something that you consider. There's some privacy issues with a lot of folks. This is one of these areas where, yes, it may help us stay in our homes for longer, if only because people who love us, people who care about us, our caregivers may be comforted by the fact that we're not going to be getting ourselves into as much trouble perhaps as we might have otherwise. So there's that functionality as well. So that's the safety zone for these devices. Security is a big one, freedom from criminal activity. And it goes back a long, long way, right? The wired systems go back many, many decades, maybe generations, and they've all advanced with combinations of wired and wireless. And you can have things that monitor door function. We'll talk more about that. Windows, even sound alerts, so that if an unusual sound happens, I know that my Alexa device will alert me if something like that happens. And there still is the option of monitored versus non-monitored services. I think these days with the control you have with your smartphone, the non-monitored service may be gaining some precedence, but there's lots of folks out there who would love to have you pay them a monthly fee to have them monitor what's going on. And that may be a good option for you. It really depends upon your circumstance. Then we have locks, both electric and keyless, and we'll get into some of these in more detail. So you've got all kinds of door locks now. Again, this may even be old technology, but what's interesting about some of these keyless entry systems is that, of course, you can open and unlock and lock the door remotely. That's one important thing. So if you're not able to leave your bedroom with something, you can do that with someone. And with the advent of the other technologies we'll talk about, kind of see who's at the door and talk to them. But you can also control who comes and goes, giving different kinds of people, family, paid caregivers, others, access to your home with different kinds of sets of codes and passwords. So you can monitor who comes and goes. You can change them over time if you want to. Much more convenient and flexible than the old kind of keyed system. And there you go. You can just have some simple functions and then more complicated functions. I'm sure from that. But that's certainly is an option for folks, is to install that and replace your locks with that. We have, yes, then there's the whole video component of security, both outside and inside the house, and famously the front door videos, which has really been inserted into our lives with this Ring brand. And they've expanded what they do. I know there's a lot of competitors happily to what they provide also. And for a lot of folks, it's very comforting to have this. We have our neighbors in our extremely secure development have this on their front door. And I think it was like so many of the technologies that we get introduced to them by their adult children. Like a lot of us get our first technology device by our adult children. This was introduced to them. So I guess they could maybe monitor additionally, not just the parents, but the kids could monitor who's coming and going and making sure everything's okay. So that's clearly an option that's available now, but there are lots of competitors out there as well. And all kinds of cameras. You can have interior cameras, as we're talking about, motion detecting systems, and lots of other cameras. And I think that the trend is to have everything be wireless these days. And I was reminded by people who know more than I do about this that that may not be the exclusive domain. It may be that a combination of some wired systems and some wireless systems may be what works best in your circumstance. So keep that in mind as you're considering this. So there you go. There's the 4 areas there. Exterior lights, of course, is, I just mentioned this, even though we're not going to focus on this, can be a big difference in security, and motion detection in particular can be a huge both safety and security benefit. We have these around our house. It's made a big difference in how we can get into the house when we're coming in the dark. And they're not that expensive. A lot of these things aren't that expensive. So we've got through communications, and then home safety and home security. Now there's kind of systems controls. There's entertainment. There's heating and ventilating. There's this newly emerging area of expensive smart appliances and devices. There's home maintenance, and again, lighting. I'll just mention that because, again, you'll have others who'll talk about this. So this is one of the original big 3, remote control areas. I remember in our neighborhood when the first kid's family got a remote control for their TV, everybody had to go over and see what it was like, and they did one gigantic thing. I think it turned it off and on. And that was the extent of it. Nowadays, a little bit more. And do you remember these bad old days where you had these incredibly complicated, way over complicated hand controls that most of us abandoned, I think, as soon as we could get beyond it. And I think for a lot of us, we have been able to do that. This is our singular remote we have to control our TV functions. Now we have a smart TV. And this is all that we need to do that. All the VCR function, everything else is all embedded in there. And it certainly makes our life simpler. But we discovered, to our surprise, because we have an Echo TV or an Amazon TV as well as an Amazon Echo thing, we can actually control our TV through our Echo device if for some reason things aren't working out otherwise. So it's possible to turn things on and off, I think, and select channels and look for whatever we want to look at online. So again, there's other companies that come up with this. You can also use your smartphone, although we don't use our smartphone for our TV. I'm sure we could figure that out. But that's part of what you get with this. So the voice control with these voice control devices, you can actually make phone calls. I have not tried that yet. You can control lights. You have to get either special light bulbs or special light switches or special light fixtures, but that can happen. You can obviously link to your security systems. As I said, it can control your TV. You can hook it up to your heating and ventilating controls. All these things are possible if you have wireless enabled systems and controllers, and then appliances. And you can do other stuff. It can be a news source. It can give you the synopsis of the news. It'll look things up for you. You can play games with it. We play our radio with our voice control devices, although, I'll have to confess we have 5 of them, and there's all different ways you can configure them so you can play certain things in certain rooms. I thought it worked at one time, no longer works for us, so I wish you all the luck in the world for getting yours configured properly. I think they have a way to go before they make it as easy as it might be. And you can play music. Again, you can play music throughout your house any way you want to. So that's all possible and more. And maybe at the end, if you use your voice control for different things, I'd love to hear about that when it comes time for questions. So this is the heating and ventilating. So this is the famous Nest thermostat, which we gave an award to back in the day, because it was such a groundbreaking technology shift from these tiny, hard to use wall thermostats, particularly the rectangular ones. But it clearly mimics the old Honeywell, right? Many of us have the old Honeywell dialing thing, and it kind of is harkening back to that. But the large dials, the large numbers, the colorful controls, the kind of self-actuating sequence and schedule for heating and cooling is all built into this. And they have, again, happily more competitors. We have one that looks more like this in our home now, but I can control it from my phone if I need to. And of course, in the kitchen, more and more appliances are coming out with wireless enabled and remote controlled functionality. Ovens, range tops, microwaves, coffee makers, probably a variety of other things I can't even think of. But you at this point, you're still paying a premium as far as I can see. And you see up here, This is where the IoT, Internet of Things, this is another phrase for how all our electronic devices will eventually be connected together. I don't think we're quite there yet in terms of commonplace, but it certainly is, for those who want to spend extra, is possible to do. And even our Roomba, this is a video clip which may run on its own, but I can't dwell on this for long. The Roomba can be Wi-Fi enabled and to allow you different kinds of controls with it. You may have this in your house now. We don't have this in ours, but it is an interesting labor-saving device that can be controlled wirelessly as well. So there we go. See, I don't want to do that. So the other thing in terms of home maintenance is that while there's been a lot of moisture detecting technology out there for many, many decades, now you have wireless moisture detecting and lower cost technology. You can put under sinks, in basements, in crawl spaces. We really wish we had this when our house flooded about 25 years ago. I think it's interesting if you spend a significant amount of time away from home or you're traveling, you can, I think, relatively easily add that functionality and have it connected to your phone. And of course, I mentioned lighting, so you can, again, you have to get special bulbs or fixtures or wall switches to enable that wirelessly, but you can control all that and then sequence things from your phone as well. You'll hear more about that next week. And finally, health. Wearable devices that can maybe help with falls, preventing them, that is, wandering, emergency functions, monitoring health status, and then getting back into activity sensors. They can sense if you've been inert for very long, and we know that inertness in general is not good, and there might be something that you can set up systems where you can alert yourself or others to a problem there. And then telemedicine, I think, as we were talking earlier. We'll go through these and more. So this is kind of the original in my world anyway. The Life Alert or other similar brands, it's got to at least be 30 years old, maybe 40. They still make them, I'm pretty sure. They have some enhanced kind of functionality to them, I'm sure, as they've moved in that direction, as other devices have moved in the alert. You press the button, it helped me, I've fallen, I can't get up kind of thing as well. What's interesting with these things now, especially with watches, is that you can add functionality to this outside the home. You have to, I think, and mostly pay extra to have these be cell enabled. But it's not just in the house that you can have them do their job. You can have them do their job when you're out. And I think that would be that's an interesting enhanced feature that at some point I may grab onto. And I'm not sure that the watches do quite everything as well as we would like them to, but they claim they can monitor your heart rate and, of course, your activity. Sleep habits is one thing. That's also a debate about how well it does that. Blood pressure, I wonder about this. And of course, falls. I think falls it does pretty well. Activity areas it does pretty well. But the others, I'd love to have this happen. And I'm sure you could have wearable devices of various other kinds. People talk about clothing, talk about shoe inserts, all kinds of things you can monitor what you're doing and have that data collected for your benefit. Even more advanced, and this is a bidet add-on, a washlet from Toto that you can add to your toilet that a lot of people like, where you can actually have these smart toilet functions analyze what comes out of you, what goes into that, rather. And because there's so much health information that can be obtained from that analysis, I'm not sure how widespread that is, but it's very interesting that could be possible. Folks who have particular health conditions where that might be something that could be monitored and evaluated profitably. As I said, telemedicine got a real boost during COVID. It never quite went as far as I would like it to. I don't know how many of us really enjoy going to the doctor, but I do get the sense that a lot of routine type visits could be avoided with enhanced use of this. And I'm not sure that it's grabbed on fully. Maybe in your area, you can tell me whether it's a big thing now or not. But I think it has great prospects for people being able to remotely monitor your health status and then have a conversation, via video. And they can be kind of confident that they're getting the information that they need and they can see you and talk to you. And I think it's a great benefit going forward. It could save a lot of money and time and so on. So in terms of tips, here's one. I mean, for a lot of these things, particularly the more advanced things, you really want to be thinking about hiring someone for these installations. Some things don't require much, others may. You get these more complicated systems, especially security systems. If needed and possible, talk about how you might acquire that assistance in a bit. And I think the two other experts there will probably be able to give you some really great advice on how to get that. Another thing to remind you is that with all technology, including this, there will guaranteed be buyer's regret. You'll buy something that will be upgraded massively the next week, or the price will drop, and you'll say, "Oh my goodness, what if I'd waited?" You have to go ahead and be bold and do what you need when you need to do it, and then after you've done research, and then know that that's still going to happen. But in terms of like the hierarchy of what's easier, maybe more difficult to achieve, the voice control is certainly that area of devices and all that it can do in communications. Otherwise, it's probably the lowest barrier to entry. They only cost, I don't know, $30 or $40 for some of these things, and you could test it out without spending a lot of money, seeing if you like it, see if you can make it work for you, and that might be fun. The next thing might be heating and ventilating, also not too expensive. You could, in many cases, replace your existing thermostat with one that works better, especially if you're changing out your heating and ventilating systems, but you can certainly do them as an add-on. I installed my Apple Nest device, or the Nest device myself as a DIY years ago, and you might be able to do it too. Security might have a few more bells and whistles needed, and you might need to do more in-depth research, but that's certainly something you could add on at some point. And again, you're getting into the area where more and more advice from outside people might be more useful. Safety as well. And your person next week will talk all about the lighting and how that can enhance safety. But you can certainly add some safety devices of your own that you've seen some of here. In terms of information, again, I'll give you my list. These are all online based. Wirecutter has a lot of information on technology. Consumer Reports has their own collection now that they evaluate products under. And unsurprisingly, AARP has a lot of information online about technology also. So all those areas are areas you can get information about this. So this is either a cautionary tale of the dark well we're going down in terms of everybody being on some kind of a device all the time, or it's an example of helpful younger adults helping their older sibling, family members get online. I don't know that the young child is quite in the helpful stage yet, but she's giving it a try. But yeah, as I said before, and I alluded to a couple of times, it turns out that our adult children seem to be one of the constant sources of introduction of this kind of thing into our lives. As I said, my daughter gave us our one Echo device. Now we have 5 of them. We don't have them integrated very well. I need to do a better job of that. But the fact that it's as hard as it is indicated that they have a ways to go to make it as simple as they need to. I'm waiting, by the way, for my grandson to be old enough where he can actually do. I have about 5 years before he's going to be, I think, tech-enabled enough to help me do stuff. So we'll count on that. Now, in terms of installation and setup, again, this stuff may be old. They may have changed their services, but there is a brand called Custom. I think there's a brand called Custom Systems, but if it isn't a brand, if it's generic, then there's a lot of custom folks out there, including maybe the people in the room there. But Best Buy has a Geek Squad. They're very happy to install the stuff that you buy from them. There's a national company called Hello Tech, maybe others by now. So any of those might be helpful to you. So this is a clip which I don't think I'm going to run. Am I going to run this? I don't know if I click this, if it's going to do something or not. It can. I'm going to see. One of the last areas, while I'm trying to get this to run, is artificial intelligence. You know, we've talked about smart homes and smart devices, and certain of these claim or maybe actually have some artificial intelligence built into them. I think we're at the very beginning age of this, right, when this is happening. I think artificial intelligence has some great promise as well as some frightening aspects to it. But among those, it includes companions or caregivers. And this little clip, which I can't run for you for some reason right now, is from a very clever little movie I recommend to all of you called Robot and Frank, where, and no surprise here, an adult child sees some decline in cognitive functioning from dad, and they're at a time a few years hence where an actual robot might be introduced and hijinks ensue. It's a comedy with some definitely dark sides, so you can see how some of these things might work out, but might not work out so well. And I know that there are some companies that kind of advertise and sell companion type functionality to stuffed animals, to things that sit on your tabletop. I think it's mainly companionship, but there may be some other functionality to it as well. But clearly, because of the population shift we're in worldwide, from more and more of us, older folks, fewer and fewer by percentage, younger people to take care of us, the technology will have to play a greater role in this, probably up to and including some kind of enhanced caregiving, because it just won't be at a price that's affordable for most of us, the kind of personal caregiving that we would probably need and expect. Anyway, I recommend the movie to you. It's a fun thing to watch, and it might be slightly instructive as well. So let me see if I can move forward here. Yeah, so I didn't get that right. Anyway, sorry about that. So we talked about how home tech can help, whether it's in communications and home safety and home security, all those different areas. You may be using some of this now. We talked about the home tech functions, the various different rooms and areas of home function that home technology can help in. And hope you've been able to pick up a few tips, as well as some of the resources. Now, we actually have been sending, and Shauna has a couple of our product selection guides, and we have others coming out this fall. This is actually something different. This is an infographic about how you would hire a contractor for the purposes of home accessibility stuff. But Shauna may be able to make those product recommendation sources we've been sending to her available to you all, if not digitally or otherwise. So that is the conclusion. This is us in Asheville. We are still alive, although we're very heroic in being able to be with you today. I hope you appreciate that. We're not actually sitting in water, but there still is a fair amount of it out there now. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to stop sharing. And then we can have some time for some questions if there are any. I'm happy to answer queries.
Thank you so much, Richard. That was just so informative.
Yeah.
We ask people to write questions down. If you've written questions down, just raise your hand and I'll come over and pick it up. And we'll take some questions for Richard, and then I'll introduce Dave and Sue, so that they can tell you a little bit about what they do, and then we can have a time for more questions for them as well. So does anybody have any questions that you've written down, first of all? No. Jamie?
I just wanted to know, is Starlink like what you have in your car?
Did
Yes.
you hear that, Richard?
Oh, that's a good.
He said.
I did. Your OWL system is working. I should know the answer to that. I bet others in the room do know the answer. I think it has to be, because it's the same name, and it may have originated from that car service. But now it's, of course, now worldwide with satellites encircling the globe. So I think it's at least related. It's one area function of that whole system, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they're one of the providers.
Okay.
And Dave, feel free to answer these questions too.
Sure.
Anybody else have any questions for Richard? Oh, we have a question on a card. That's so exciting.
Sean, I don't think your microphone is on.
Oh, it is on. I think I have to just.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can hear it. I
I
can
just
hear it.
have to
Okay.
put it closer to my mouth.
Got it.
So here's a question.
The Internet of
Internet of Things, concerns about surveillance and loss of privacy.
Mm. Right. Yeah, that's the dark side of this, right? That particularly if you look at some of the more alarming kinds of reports that kind of any device can be secretly and remotely turned against you somehow and used to monitor your activities when that wasn't intended. I don't know how true many of those reports are, but I know that inevitably some of that will happen. Right? You can't have a house full of connected devices that's in turn connected to the outside world that you use to send signals in and out and not have some of that go on. I think everyone's got to kind of measure for themselves their level of comfort with what might be possible. It's slow rolling for sure in that there aren't many people that have kind of this whole house systems that you would get by glomming everything together, right? But you use your phone in your house now. You use your TV comes and goes now. Your computer comes and goes now. And there might be things even attached to that. But it's a real concern. I mean, do other people have any thoughts on that?
Yeah,
Jeannie?
I think Google follows me, you know? It does. My daughter says, it's spying on you, Mom. Well, you know what, like.
Okay, well, hi, I'm Jen. I'm Richard's project coordinator. I actually have some feedback on that.
Okay.
If you have an iPhone, I always don't save my password to the password keychain.
Right.
But a lot of people do that out of simplicity and convenience.
Right.
That means you have to punch in the password every single time because Apple will keep all of your passwords on a keychain, right?
Yeah.
So take that information and
You're trading convenience,
however resonates.
convenience for
Yeah.
security, right?
Well, I do that
Yeah.
to open my phone all the time. My granddaughter gets annoyed. She said, Nanny, you don't have to do that. And I said, I don't want them following me.
I think,
You're paranoid.
Yeah, a little.
I think when it
Well,
comes to that,
I'll be just the opposite.
Oh,
Okay,
So-
Dave wanted to answer a little bit, he'll give you
Yeah,
the
I thi-
microphone.
you know, I totally understand people's concerns about, I'm Dave, by the way, Dave Tech.
Yeah,
Dave
and I will
Silver.
introduce you in a
Yeah,
second.
okay, yeah,
We'll-
but
we'll do that.
I think for me, when I think about security and devices, it is that balance of, is this necessary, do I need this? But also at the end of the day, I think, and no offense to you or me, but like, we're not high-profile people. If the government wants to spy on me to see how to make an omelet, great. But I think it is a matter of kind of, making those decisions. And I think with all this technology, it's really like what's necessary and what do I really need? Do I need a refrigerator that can, Bluetooth your, you've made it this far without it, right?
You know what's annoying though? If you, like, I asked for a tree service. For 2 years, they kept sending me stuff. And I was
Right.
like, I had it done, I had it done, I had it done,
Yeah.
So you want to stop it.
Some of that is more about your browser history and caching. I can address that at another point.
Actually, I'd
So,
like to
so
take
let
that.
me just interrupt for a second before we take any more questions.
Plumber or whatever.
Kathy, I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, I want to introduce our other two panelists because they're able to answer some of your questions. So Dave Silber right here is from Dave Tech. He is a local Wayland resident and he's starting a brand new business. So he is available to be hired to go into your homes to help with technology, and he'll talk a little bit more in a second.
Yep.
Sue Donahue is from Lavindi, and this is also a local company that started in Wayland. And she's going to do a demonstration and talk a little bit more about her product in just a bit. But if you would like to answer any of these questions
Yeah,
that come up.
if I can address, we understand the privacy issue and how people feel about that. So when we made Lavindi and a way to communicate with families, the only people that can call you are the people you invite.
Mhm.
So there is no internet connection. The only time for our video calling, when we talk about the demonstration, I'll show you, the video calling, the camera is only used for video calling. It doesn't record, it doesn't stay on, so it's not doing that. But it's a closed system, so it's a very private network. It's only for you and the people that you invite. So it is possible.
Great. All right, Marge, you have a question.
I have more than a question, I have a comment. I love Google, absolutely love it. And Google Maps, I just am thrilled with because they have location sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And I location share with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And if my grandson gives me a call and wants to be picked up and he's in Cambridge.
Oh, Marjorie, can you just talk, you have to,
Oh, yeah.
let me just make sure it's still on. Yeah, just talk
Right, I get directions, so I know how to go in there and get him. If I'm preparing a meal, and I'm thinking, are they gonna be back in time? And I look at the map and see that they're in Oshkosh, I know they won't be back in time. The other thing it does, I go for walks in the morning, it tells me how far I've walked. How many, if I've gone, I went 4 miles this morning, walking a rail trail with a friend. Loved it. Okay, I wouldn't have known that except for my sharing, going to the Google location sharing. So, I'm loving it.
I wanna keep track of you.
Raise your hand if you have a question and I'll come around. Any other questions for Richard? Okay, all right, we'll move on, and again, I introduced Dave Silver, and he's just gonna tell you a little bit about what he does, and then Sue will talk about Lavindi.
Hi guys, nice to meet you all. My name's Dave Zilber, founder of Dave Tech. You can grab a business card or a magnet or both up there if you want my contact information. Basically, I decided to start this business. First of all, I have a background in tech. I was a director of tech support at a company that did closed captioning and transcription. So I, like Richard, have a big heart for accessibility and making sure that it's a level playing ground when it comes to all these amazing things out there. And basically, the reason I decided to start Dave Tech was because I had seen through my mother-in-law and my parents these companies that prey on fear. They kind of scare people into those services, getting them to sign up for X, Y, and Z. And funny enough, it's also really expensive. So what I decided to do was to start a really affordable and kind of hyper-local service to help people, whether they're my age or your age, and really kind of provide an affordable and easy solution for people to get help with tech. Because I know how frustrating and intimidating it can be. And I know also that you want to learn. You maybe were gifted something and you want to use it, and it might just be sitting there collecting dust. I'm here to help you. Like Richard said, some of these products do require a real installation with a licensed electrician. But then there's also the learning component of how do I use this? And that's kind of where I would come in to help you. There are some things I could install for sure, but I can also help you learn how to use it. So I'm more than happy also. I typically charge $65 an hour for my services. For the people attending today, I'm offering a rate of $50 an hour for everyone, just to give that to you guys. I'm here to connect with the community and to help people is really kind of the core purpose. I'm a stay-at-home dad. My wife works crazy busy hours, so this is just a nice thing for me to do, to come out, help people, very small scale, 1 hour, 2 hour, here and there. With my service, not only do I help you, but after the fact, I send you custom session notes as well, which I found people really like, because sometimes, yes, it might be a one-off fix here and there, but more often than not, it's a process that you'll be repeating on a regular basis. So I will provide you with kind of the how-to notes as well as kind of explaining how to do it in person. So you always have that there for your reference. So I'm a local guy, here to help you. My website, it's davetotherescue.com. You can email me. It's help@davetotherescue.com, and the phone number as well. It's on the card, the magnet. Take both, and just tell me you were here if you ever give me a call, and you get that discounted rate. And I look forward to seeing your faces around town.
Good, thank you. Just a little disclaimer, because the COA does not recommend any particular vendors. We are very happy to have Dave come here today to tell us what he does. We also have a little brochure that gives information on other vendors and has other information of other people who could provide tech support. So that's, again, the COA always just gives you lots of options, but we don't have anybody we recommend, and we also ask you to, do your homework as well for anybody that you hire. So that's my little disclaimer. And now I'd like to introduce Sue Donahue from Lavindi, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what Lavindi can do for you.
And you've got controller for just the
Yeah,
slides?
I do. Oh, let me get the PowerPoint up.
Yeah, thank you.
So, good morning. I want to thank the Council on Aging for letting me, if I can figure out how to make this come to me. Thank you. Awesome. So, I work for a company called Lavindi. We're a local company. And basically, a lot of what Richard was saying jives with what Lavindi is. So, it's designed to help you stay connected and supported in your home. So, in the time we have, basically, the two big worries that we have is we want to be able to communicate with our families. We want to talk to our grandchildren. We want to see them. We don't get to do that enough. But as you know, and as you spoke about, technology is hard. It keeps changing, and it's really hard to keep up with it. What we designed with Lavindi, it's an easy way to connect with family and call them. So the other thing that we worry about is health and safety. It's falls. It's how am I going to get help if I fall and nobody is there? Even if somebody's there. I mean, my parents, just apropos, my mother a couple of weeks ago, she fell in the kitchen. And she didn't have the upper body strength to actually push herself up. So my father and I were there, and we were able to lift her up. But with Lavindi, she would have been able to call us, and it would have called people automatically if she needed to do that. So Lavindi, we've been talking about smart technology, but it's a simple, easy-to-use tool. It's a tool. It's a tool for you to stay connected, in touch with your family and friends through video calling, picture and video sharing, and it has features that help you detect and prevent falls, manage your health, and even get help in an emergency. So there's lots of add-ons to this. But as its most basic, it helps you keep in touch with your family, which is really our first and foremost goal, right? So it comes with a free helper app. And your helper app, and it's hard to see, I know, it's what your family would see. And your caregivers would look at this and they could, this is how they call you. They can call your tablet. They can help check your status. If you've got a health issue, they can help look at that. And they can send pictures and videos. They can also use the app to call each other. So all they need to do is press a button. So let's look at video call. So if you look on the side of the tablet and look at the demo part of it, on the side of our tablet are all the people in your care team. They are the people that can call you. There's an unlimited number of people you can add to it if you want to. And they are the only people that are calling you.
You can show it right here. This is
Oh,
what
there
you're
you go.
talking about, right?
Thank you. Thank you very much. So there's the app that they would see. And so on the far right, that's your health status. So if you were to use sensors in the home that we'll talk about, they would be able to check your health status to see what's going on. And you can check your status too, by the way, with a device like a watch, which is what we have. So all I would need to do, and it's going to call me right now, I'm going to press my name, press my picture, and it's calling me. So it's that easy. And the other feature that our families really like, it's got closed captions. So my father has very hard time hearing. He has hearing aids. He hates to wear his hearing aids, especially at home. So having the closed captions that go across the top in real time is really helpful to be able to follow the conversation, especially when it comes to talking to someone about your cable bill or something like that you really need to pay attention to, right? The other thing they like is the auto answer feature. So you can set it that it will pick up the phone for you. So it'll ring a couple of times, you set the time, and it'll pick it up. So that way you're not thinking about running to the phone. And what are we talking about? It's a fall risk, right? Nobody wants to fall and trip on the way to the phone. So with auto answer, they don't have to do that. So let me split my. So that's video calling. Now, one of the things that Richard was mentioning, you want a secure system. This is a secure system. It's so secure that it's HIPAA compliant. Using it for telehealth it's telehealth enabled. And what we found was that people were looking for people to talk to. So what we also incorporated was we have licensed therapists that if you need someone to talk to, solve a problem, figure something out, you can actually connect with a therapist through Lavindi. And they can help you do that. So whatever that might be, it could be anything. So we offer that service as well. And it's covered by Medicare, which is also important for people. So let's talk about safety and getting help. Now my parents are in their 80s. They actually live right in Wayland. My dad, as you know, has a hard time hearing. My mom walks with 2 canes. So my mom, to get my dad's attention, will often bang on the floor because he's spending his time in the basement and she's upstairs. So that's how she gets his attention. So what she said, like many people, she said, you know, I don't know that I would use something like this because Dad's here. If I fall, he's going to hear me and he's going to be able to come help me. Well, if he's not wearing his hearing aids and she's on the floor banging the cane, there's no way he's going to be able to hear her. So with Lavindy, we've got two options for help. One is a call button. It's a wearable call button, and what happens is it will call everybody on your care team if I press the button. So if I press the button, oh, there we go. It'll call, and it'll start calling everybody on your care team in order until somebody picks up. So it won't stop until somebody answers the phone, so it'll just keep dialing through. Now, what we also found was that a lot of people don't like wearing the wearables. They don't enjoy that. So now, and I disabled it for our purposes this morning, it's a voice activated system. So if you fall on the floor, you can say, help me, and it will do the same thing. It will call your care team.
Do you need help? Please say yes or no.
No. No, thank you. So it'll ask you if you need help. So there's no more false. It's not a false call. But if you don't answer, it will start.
I'm glad you are okay. If you need help in the future, just say, help me.
There you go. I'll tell you. So that's pretty funny. That's great. So it's got a voice activated response, just like Richard was talking about, having that voice activation. But again, it's private. It's secure. So finally, we have health monitoring. Now, our health monitoring system, it's more than just a basic tablet. So what we've got are sensors that you'd put on the wall for key areas around your house. And there's motion and activity. They also detect things like humidity in your home or other factors. And if there's a problem, it uses AI to figure out the pattern in your home of your movement and your activity. And if it detects a change in the pattern, it'll notify the caregivers through the app. Now, we have biometric devices. So the biometric devices, like a watch, for example, I can wear this and it'll tell me my heart rate, my respiration, and it's accurate. We have blood pressure cuffs, so you can manage your own health essentially. So it'll tell you perhaps that your heart rate was really low. So maybe it might be a potential risk for a fall or a health emergency. Now you're covered, but you want to prevent that, right? So we don't want to fall. We don't want to get hurt. So it will send all notification to your family of how they can help you and get in touch with you. And
Do you want me to go to the next slide?
oh, that'd be great. I forgot about that. I was just too busy talking. So there's your Help Me feature, which we just talked about, and the wearables. The other wearable besides the watch is a sleep monitor. So that can go in your bed, and it can tell, and it can tell your family or when you get in and out of bed. So if there's a fall risk in the middle of the night, it's dark, walking around in the dark, they want to make sure you're okay. So that's potential too. So yeah. So that's Lavindy, but before I go, I've got some brochures on the table. Please feel free to take a look at the brochures. The other thing we are doing right now with the National Institute on Health and UMass Amherst is we're doing a fall study. And we need participants in the fall study, and there's the brochures over there. And the cool thing about that is you get free stuff. So for the study, you get the Lavindy to use in your home with all the bells and whistles and every feature that we have to use. And what it involves in is that someone we will probably be me, guys. I'll call you once a month, and you take a quick survey, and just to give us some feedback on the features and what you think of Lavindy and basically how we can improve it. So those brochures are over there. Please welcome to take them. I'm here for any questions you have about it. That's my presentation. Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting us today.
Thanks so much to all of our presenters. I'm going to actually stop the share, which I did.
That's true, it
Yeah,
is that time of year.
Anyway, I just would, before you leave, I just would like to make a couple of announcements, and then we can open it up if you have more questions for either Sue or Dave. As we talked about before, we have 2 more programs in the next 2 weeks. So we have one next Thursday, the 17th, also at 10:30, and the following week, the 24th. Next week, we have somebody from the AARP Massachusetts Speakers Bureau coming, and she's going to be talking about home safety, modifying your home for safety and comfort. And when you come, everyone is going to get a copy of this Home Fit Guide, which is a really valuable resource. So hopefully you'll all join us next week. I also just wanted to mention that as part of the grant, we have a pilot program to install grab bars in 5 homes. So we're doing a lottery. So if you think that that's something that would be helpful to you, you could just let Paula know on your way out and she can put you on the list. And we're going to be choosing people at the last session on the 24th. So those are our announcements. And once again, I would like to thank Richard and also thank Dave and Sue for coming today. And if anybody would like to stay and talk to them a little bit more, they'll be here for a little bit. And just to ask one more time, does anybody have any other questions for any of our panelists? All right, well, thank you all for coming to, oh, Ray.
A comment.
Oh, comment for Ray, okay. Let me give you the microphone.
Back when the guy was talking about, just a second. Generators, there's a very important difference.
We can't hear you.
I'm speaking into it.
If you tip it, I think. The very, that's it. Yes.
Can you hear me now? Shauna,
Hold on 1 second.
I can help.
And Shauna, those grab bars are really good. I have one. Thank you.
Who did you have it
The one that did my bathroom
Oh, okay.
years ago. Because I still take baths, so, you know.
Yeah, that's like working out.
hello.
Yeah, the grab bar is really good.
All right, how's that?
I do too. I have a friend.
Especially when you use cream goods or something, you know.
I'm not a big fan.
Hello? Okay, if everybody, if you need to leave, please feel free, but we just have another comment from Ray. So Ray, go ahead.
With generators, there's 2 kinds of things with them, and it's not an easy thing to really learn. They can be run on 2 kinds of fuel. One is gasoline and the other is gas. There's a huge difference. If you have gas in your house, that's the dream way to go, because you can get something that never needs refilling by you, and when the gas is always there. If you have a disaster at some point with gasoline, you may not be able to buy gas, and of course you have to fill the tank periodically. Tanks typically run maybe as much as 8 hours a day, or 8 hours, so that's not too bad. Maybe they'll run a little longer, but you always have to pay attention to it and have that resource. So, and the generators that run on gas, typically you'll buy something, if it's like a permanent installation, it will have a system that will self-test it, typically once a week. And you're typically not even aware of that happening, but it does, it makes a big difference. But the biggest issue really is when you need, if you have a gasoline powered one, can you get the gas? Unfortunately, I have a gasoline powered one, so I'm always faced with that question.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and before you leave, don't forget that we have the motion detector night lights for you. It's a package of 4 and 1 per household, so don't forget to get those. Oh, and Richard has left. Oh, I didn't get to say goodbye, but thank you to all of our speakers. We really appreciate everyone coming today. And again, Dave and Sue will be here for a few minutes if you would like to ask them any questions. And we hope to see all of you next Thursday, same time.